Fleming 65 is built in the same yard in Taiwan where the Fleming 55s have been in production since 1985. No introduction to the 65 would be complete without a brief visit to this yard. The glossy gel coat reflects the quality of the mould as the hull is moved by the gantry crane to its position in the production line. Frames, stringers, full-width fuel tank and engine room bulkheads are already in place when the solid glass hull leaves the mould. Engines are loaded at an early stage in construction. The deck is installed shortly thereafter, soon to be followed by the flying bridge. With the major parts in place, the boat begins to take on her final appearance, but many weeks of work lie ahead before she is ready to emerge from the building. Every Fleming 65 spends her last months in the yard in the purpose-built test tank, where she is slowly brought to life and her systems tested for days at a time. An immense mobile crane lifts her onto the transporter, which will take her on the first leg of her long journey. Propellers are installed before she leaves the yard for Kaohsiung Harbor. Having undergone static testing in the freshwater test tank, the crane places her gently into the salty water of the gritty commercial port. Now moving under her own power for the first time, she will head out into the South China Sea for 3 days of sea trials. After another haul out, she is pulled alongside the freighter, which will carry her to the other side of the world. After one final rendezvous with a floating crane, the 65 is collected by an authorized Fleming dealer for commissioning. Here are 2 boats at Burr Yacht Sales on the east coast of the United States. Each boat reflects the taste of her individual owner, whose personal touches complement and bring to life the richness and underlying craftsmanship of the teak interior. The Galley has all the amenities of a fully equipped shoreside kitchen. A wet bar aft is conveniently close to the cockpit. The pantry is away from the main galley, making it an ideal location for a coffee maker. This drawer provides easily accessible storage. The cooktop has removable pot holders, and the pans themselves are stored in a pull-out drawer. All the stairs in the Fleming 65 are straight and easy to negotiate, with wide symmetrical treads, as can be seen from these leading down to the spacious accommodation. Like every Fleming, the 65 has a real pilot house, which has the option of being able to be closed off completely from the rest of the boat for night running. The generous upper and lower consoles have ample space for modern electronic displays. The backs of all consoles are readily accessible, including the flying bridge, as shown here. The battery switches are in the lazarette adjacent to the engine room door. The engine room itself is well laid out with easy access to all equipment and plenty of space around the MAN 800 horsepower common rail engines. All Flemings are equipped with aquadrive systems, in which thrust brackets and CV joints isolate the engines from the shafts. All the fuel filters are conveniently located with drip bowls beneath each filter. Fuel management is simple from the panel at the forward end of the engine room. A fuel transfer pump moves fuel to and from any tank. The stringers are dressed with polished stainless steel. There is plenty of space between the front of the engines and the bulkhead which covers the forward fuel tank. All air is brought into the engine room from the lazarette through shutters which close should the automatic extinguisher release. The engine room door has a viewport. This generator strainer is typical of the access to all equipment. The red protectors on the ends of the hose clamps are an example of attention to detail. The Fleming 65 is a well-tested vessel. Hull number 1, named Venture, was retained for in-depth testing of its design and to act as a testbed for new equipment. Here, lines are stowed in one of the many deck lockers as we head out into blustery conditions. The Pacific Northwest, with its rugged reputation, was the chosen location for our test program. Hidden rocks and floating logs are common hazards in these waters, and a deep, full-length keel extending well below the running gear is essential for any serious cruising yacht. Even with this keel, the Fleming 65 only draws about 5 feet, which qualifies her for cruising in the Bahamas. Over the weeks and months, Venture carried us north to Alaska and south to Southern California. We spent many nights at anchor in isolated bays, and a few in marinas surrounded by commercial vessels. We lived aboard for weeks at a time and navigated through mist, fog, ice, and storms. So perhaps the best way to illustrate the versatility of the Fleming 65 is to stop talking and simply allow the pictures to tell the story.